Thank you for all of those gracious lies. I stand before you a man overwhelmed, perhaps even a little disabled by gratitude. And I don't think words will adequately express from you what it means to come to this moment. It is the fulfillment of a long-held dream. It represents the culmination of a great deal of sacrifice and effort by many of you, as well as by me. And I'm so happy to be a judge in this great county, a colleague of these black-robed jurists behind me, and to have the opportunity to assist in the provision of justice to the good members of this community. I know you've heard some speeches already, and I just nevertheless sort of feel an obligation to, having come through the election process, to say thank yous, which will probably sound like the longest Academy Awards speech. If you're wishing for music, it will come on to get me off. But I want you to know that these black robes run in my family. I come from a father, a grandfather, and have a brother who were all Methodist ministers, and I wore these black robes. So. You know, there's probably some part of every son that wants to be a little like his dad. And I would be very happy to be thought of as being like mine. I see him as a person of commitment and courage and integrity, and those are good qualities in the judge. I'm pleased to have both my parents here for this occasion. They celebrated their 60th wedding anniversary this last September. Has always been something of my personal trainer, checking on whether I'm a father to engage in any exercises lately or read any good books. She would hate for me to tell you that she is going to turn 80 this year. I would much rather that I point out to you that she's still teaching yoga at the YMCA. You saw six children in the family, remarkably well organized. Boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, they were boy. All the boys J's, all the girls D's. Jimmy, Jason, Dawn, Dale, Darlene, as well as Jed. I have to suspect that there's some part of me that longs to be the guardian of the law because of that birth order factor of being the oldest of these 6 children. All of my brothers and sisters provided some help and support to me during the election campaign. Brother Jason tried to organize me in the primary, setting a poster board in front of me with Post-it notes that I could put on the timeline. And Brother Jim was certainly the most active. He planted himself in Santa Barbara. At one point I was going to say he was holding up signs for me on State Street, and I was just stopping students to tell them to vote for me. You can see I wasn't lying. It was after I graduated from USC and had been practicing law on my own for a while that I met the love of my life. Her name, appropriately enough, began with a D. We used all 3 of the family ministers to marry us, so we should be sure that it would take. And by the way, Peter Rutenberg in the back there was best man at our wedding 30 years ago this year. So it's wonderful to have him here. Diane came from Beecher, Illinois, a metropolis of some 2,000 souls, perhaps, where her father's family had farmed for generations. And I'm especially pleased to have 3 of the representatives of Beecher, Illinois here tonight, in my mother-in-law Shirley and in Dennis and Kathy. I'm a little worried about whether the town is going to do well without them, but I think we'll maybe manage for the night. You've heard about my children, and I was going to go on at some length about them, but I know it's getting late, and I can only say how proud I am of each of them, and what a support they have been. I will always treasure the memories of of Trish and Jerusha manning tables at home shows and other events during the campaign, wearing homemade Phoebe for Judge t-shirts. I've got to talk about some people that have helped enormously in the election process getting me here. But I do have to pay some further honor to my wife, Diane. Growing up in the Midwest as a farm girl of solid German Lutheran background, she was reared to be a conscientious custodian of money. And throughout our marriage, I've been blessed to have her sort of take care of all of the finances in the home. She was not expecting, as we went into 2008, the day where it was going to be an election campaign, and she immediately recognized it as completely fiscally irresponsible. And beyond the money, she knew that the investment of time and effort that would be required in the midst of her full-time job as a care assistant and her responsibilities as a mom, that there were going to be significant demands. But she squinted a little at the idea, but never blinked. And by rights, she should have talked me out of this election business. The only explanation I can think of is that sometimes love makes you do some crazy things. Thank you. Well, it didn't take me long to realize that I was out of my depth as soon as I started into the campaign process. The election for the open seat that was vacated by Judge Hall was a surprise to everyone. 14 months went by without an appointment by the governor, and the realization that the opening would be filled by election didn't hit us until just a few days before the deadline for declaring candidacy. There were at least 7 of us who assembled and scrambled to decide whether or not to commit to such an enterprise. I had been in the running for a couple of earlier vacancies filled through the appointment process, and with the support and encouragement of many of the judges here on the platform, I felt it was something I should consider, with encouragement especially from Judge Melville and Judge McClafferty and others such as Jean Dandona, now happily Judge Dandona, who opted out of the race herself to support me, as did Mark Brown. I launched what was surely the most amateur campaign attempted in the county of Santa Barbara for generations. There were 4 of us who actually committed to the race, and I had no war chest, no political experience running, except running unsuccessfully for student body president in high school, and ongoing job responsibilities. Most of those watching my floundering efforts expected that I would lose in the primary as they saw John McKinnon signs sprout all over the county as he ran a marvelously energetic campaign that eventually in primary won him nearly twice as many votes as any of the rest of us. What probably saved me and squeaked me into the runoff was a series of serendipitous events. District Attorney candidate Lynn Cutler bowed out of the race, leaving behind him, however, a powerfully written ballot statement that evidently persuaded 1 in every 5 voters to vote for him, even though he had withdrawn from the race. I won the endorsement of the Santa Maria Times. Rod and Vicki Melville held a fundraising event for me in their home. Royce Llewellyn donated some of the wine that he's famous for. I had ambition to send a mailing, but I couldn't seem to get it organized and figure out how you generate a mailing list or design the brochure. And at that point, a sort of minor miracle occurred. My pastor, Brian Parcel, who gave the invocation here today, happened to run into Judge Melville and Judge Cantor dining at the Maya restaurant, and they sort of jointly lamented how terribly the campaign was being run.